Hello everyone, welcome to the series of lectures on the course Calculus and Numerical Methods. This is part 2 of the second chapter, Sequences and their Convergence. In the last video, we saw what are sequences and we also saw many examples of sequences. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the notion of convergence of a sequence. So before defining the convergence of a sequence, let me define one or two definitions. The first one is epsilon neighborhood of a point. Epsilon neighborhood of a point. Supposing I have a real number x, so let x be some real number and epsilon be any positive real number, arbitrary, any positive number. So if I put it on the number line, x is somewhere here and I have some positive number epsilon. So now what I will do is I will collect all those points whose distance from x is less than this epsilon. For simplicity, for now you can think of epsilon as 1, that's a positive number. So from x I will collect all those points on the real line which are at a distance less than 1 from this point x. So what I have to do, from x I have to travel 1 unit on my right, so somewhere I will come to the point x plus 1 here, and even on the left hand side I have to travel 1 unit, so somewhere I will come to a point x minus 1. So this is x minus 1 and this is x plus 1, right? So now if you look at these points which are marked in red, that's open interval x minus 1 comma x plus 1, and these points which I have marked in red are actually the points whose distance from x is less than 1. If you take this point x plus 1, then its distance from x is exactly 1. I need points whose distance is strictly less than 1, right? So what I'm doing is I'm collecting all the points y such that distance of y from x is less than 1. This modulus of y minus x means geometrically the distance between the points x and y, right? So this is nothing but the set of all the real numbers y such that this is of the form mod x less than 1, and by properties of absolute values I can write that as minus 1 less than y minus x less than y 1, right? And I can further write this as I can add x throughout, so that will give me x minus 1 less than, when I add x here this minus x will cancel out and that is x plus 1. So I am looking at all real numbers y which lie between x minus 1 and x plus 1, and that is nothing but the open interval x minus 1 comma x plus 1, right? Now this set is called one neighborhood of the point x. One neighborhood meaning I'm looking at all the points which are at a distance less than 1. So in general, if x is any real number and epsilon is positive, then epsilon neighborhood of x is the set of all real numbers y such that distance between y and x is less than epsilon, right? So the way we have defined it for 1, we can define it for any positive epsilon. So this is nothing but set of all real numbers y proceeding in the same way. I have minus epsilon less than y minus x and that is less than epsilon. You add x throughout, So that is set of all real numbers y such that x minus y is less than y, and that is less than x plus epsilon. And these are all the real numbers between x minus epsilon and x plus epsilon. So this is the open interval x minus x epsilon and x plus epsilon, right? So I can also consider the epsilon neighborhood to be this set, and that is equivalent to this open interval x minus epsilon comma x plus epsilon. Okay, so this is called the epsilon neighborhood around the point x. Clear? Next, I have one more definition. Supposing I have a sequence xn, some sequence xn, and let's say capital N is some natural number, any natural number, capital N. Then when I say xn is a sequence, this sequence is nothing but a function from set of natural numbers to some set, whatever this set is. So this xn is actually a map from n to the set of points x. Now for each natural number n, this function xn will have an image inside x. So what I will do is, I will restrict my natural number set, that is the domain of that function, to this set. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll consider the set, I will take all those natural numbers k, I will take all those natural numbers k which are bigger than or equal to this capital N, right? I will take all those natural numbers k which are bigger than or equal to n. So which numbers will come in this? Capital N will come because k is equal, bigger than or equal to n. So if k is equal to n, then n is equal to n. Yes, capital N is coming. Then capital N plus 1 will come, capital N plus 2 will come, capital N plus 3 will come. So all the natural numbers after n are actually coming in this set, right? So what I will do is, I will restrict my domain to this set. That means the first n minus 1 terms I am removing from the sequence. That is the term x1, x2, x3 up till x capital N minus 1. These terms I am removing from the sequence, and I will only consider the terms after n minus 1. That is xn, xn plus 1, xn plus 2, xn plus 3, and so on. Understanding? Then this sequence xn, where n is bigger than or equal to capital N. So only which terms will come here? The first term will be x capital N, then x capital N plus 1, then x capital N plus 2. This sequence is called the tail of the original sequence. Okay. So after restricting the set of natural to a particular set, first few terms you remove. So you can think of capital N as 100. First 100 terms you remove, and then from 101st term, that is called the 100 tail of the sequence. So this is actually called n tail of the sequence. Some books refer to this as capital N tail of the sequence. Okay, so n, a tail of a sequence, meaning you remove some particular elements from the sequence, and after that term you consider all the terms of the sequence after a certain stage. Okay, so that is called the tail of the sequence. Now supposing epsilon is any positive number. Now let epsilon be any positive arbitrary number. Arbitrary meaning any positive number. Then let me draw the number line. Yeah, and supposing there is a point x here, and epsilon is any positive number. If for any epsilon positive, I will have the epsilon neighborhood of x, right, which I defined in the last slide. Now, if it is possible for you to put the entire tail of the sequence in this neighborhood. Now, when I say tail of the sequence, what do you mean by that? If I can find one natural number capital N such that the terms after x capital N, that is the terms x capital N plus 1, x capital N plus 2, all these terms, if it is possible for me to put all these terms inside this neighborhood here this way, xn, xn plus 1, xn plus 2, then xn plus 3 somewhere here, xn plus 4, and so on. Alright, so or if it is possible for me to include all the terms here after capital N, then we say that the sequence xn, the original sequence that I started with here, it converges to the point small x. Okay, so if you give me epsilon equal to 1, if you give me epsilon equal to 1, then corresponding to this epsilon, if I can find one natural number capital N such that the terms of the sequence after this natural number capital N are entirely sitting inside the neighborhood x minus 1 to x plus 1, then we say that the sequence xn converges to this point x. Now, why only epsilon equal to 1? It actually it should work for every epsilon positive. So no matter what epsilon you give me epsilon is equal to 0.1, you give me epsilon equal to 5, you give me epsilon is equal to 1 lakh. So for any epsilon positive, I should be able to find one stage. That means I have to find one natural number such that the terms of the sequence after this natural number, that is, I'm talking about the tail, this tail will be entirely inside the epsilon neighborhood. Then we say that the sequence xn converges to the point small x. Fine. So geometrically what it means is, I have the sequence here x1, x2, then somewhere xn minus 1, xn, xn plus 1, xn plus 2, and so on. This is my sequence. So what this says is, there is a stage in the sequence, that means there is some stage somewhere here such that whenever you take the terms of the sequence after this stage, that is, whenever you take these terms of the sequence, you can put them in the neighborhood, the epsilon neighborhood that is given to you. So if you tell me any epsilon positive, if I can find such a stage such that after that stage all the terms of the sequence are inside the epsilon neighborhood, epsilon is the number that you gave me, then we say that the sequence xn converges to that point x. Okay, so I will define the convergence of a sequence formally now. This was just a rough idea, a geometric view of it, just to get a feel of it. Alright, so now we will formally define the convergence of a sequence. So the definition goes this way. In this chapter, we are going to consider only the real sequences. Okay, so the set X, which is there in the definition of the sequences, we will take that to be R. Only real sequences we are going to discuss. So let Xn be any real sequence. Real sequence meaning the terms of the sequence are real numbers. Okay, so I have a real sequence Xn. Then we say that the sequence Xn converges to sequence Xn converges to a point x in R if we say that this sequence xn converges to this real number x if given epsilon positive, you give me any epsilon positive, then corresponding to this epsilon there exists a natural number, capital N, okay, such that given any epsilon positive there exists a natural number which I am choosing to be capital N such that for all k bigger than or equal to capital N, I won't use quantifiers, such that for all k small k's bigger than or equal to this natural number. Okay, so I'm considering the natural numbers n, n plus 1, n plus 2, n plus 3 and so on. So those are the values of k. Okay, so for all k which are bigger than or equal to n, xk should belong to the neighborhood x minus epsilon to x plus epsilon. This is the neighborhood around the point x. So if x is here, then x plus epsilon will be here, x minus epsilon will be somewhere here, and this is that neighborhood which I am talking about. So what the definition says is, you give me any epsilon positive, corresponding to this epsilon positive I can find one natural number capital N such that for all k bigger than or equal to n, for all natural numbers k which are bigger than or equal to capital N, the terms xk's will belong to this epsilon neighborhood. Okay, and here k takes the values n, n plus 1, n plus 2 and so on, right? So this says the terms xk's are coming here where k is bigger than or equal to n. That is, this tail is entirely sitting inside this epsilon neighborhood. Sometimes this is also called as epsilon band. Okay, and x is here. So after a certain stage, all the terms of the sequence are sitting inside that epsilon neighborhood, right? And this I can also write in terms of modulus. In fact, some books give the definition itself in terms of this modulus, right? So how I can write this in terms of modulus? Xk belongs to this open interval. That means xk will lie between x minus epsilon and x plus epsilon, right? Now if I subtract x throughout, then what I'll get? Minus epsilon is less than xk minus x, and that is less than epsilon, and that is same as saying modulus of xk minus x is less than epsilon by the properties of absolute values, right? This property we are using every now and then, if you see. Okay, so that is what it says is, for all k bigger than or equal to n, xk belongs to this interval means modulus of xk minus x must be less than epsilon. That means after a certain stage, if you take the difference between the terms of the sequence xk and the point x, I can make them less than any epsilon positive I like, no matter how small or how big this epsilon is. Okay, so after a in a way, in some sense, it says that after a certain stage, the difference between the terms of the sequence and the point x can be made smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, so the terms of the sequence are very close to the point x. You can find such, given any epsilon, you can find such a stage. All right, so this is called the convergence of a sequence. Now, using quantifiers, how will I write this definition? Using quantifiers, how will I put this definition? Okay, using quantifiers, xn converges to the point x if given epsilon positive. So given any epsilon positive, so universal quantifier, for every epsilon positive, what should happen? There exists a natural number capital N. So existential, there exists a natural number capital N such that for all natural numbers k bigger than or equal to n, again the universal quantifier, for all k bigger than or equal to n, what should happen? Xk should come in this interval, right? So instead of this, I will put this modulus because I prefer this. So xk minus x will be less than epsilon. Instead of this, you can also write the other condition, which are equivalent actually. So any one you can write. You can, instead of this, you can also put xk belongs to x minus epsilon comma x plus epsilon. Both mean the same, right? So using quantifiers, how will I put the definition of the convergence? The sequence xn converges to x if for every epsilon positive there exists a natural number n such that for all k bigger than or equal to this natural number, the difference xk minus x is less than epsilon, or xk's belong to the open interval or the neighborhood x minus epsilon comma x plus epsilon. All right. Now one more thing to note here is, we say for every epsilon positive. So if you give me epsilon is equal to 1, I will find one natural number. If you give me epsilon equal to 2 now, the natural number here need not be the same natural number when epsilon was 1. So corresponding to different epsilon positives, I will be getting possibly different natural numbers here. So this natural number which is here we are finding capital N, it entirely depends on this epsilon. And sometimes to show that dependence, we just write small epsilon here as a suffix. Okay, because with different epsilons, the value of this natural number n will change, as we will be looking at this in the examples. When I reach there, I will tell you all why I am putting this epsilon here. Okay, so it only shows the dependence of this natural number capital N on this positive number epsilon, right? So using quantifiers, this is how the definition of convergence of a sequence looks like. Now, if I don't know the limit, that is the value x to which the sequence converges, and I know that xn only converges. Okay, so xn, a sequence converges if I don't know the limit. So there must exist one real number. So the definition using quantifiers will change this way. Xn converges if there exists a real number x such that, then this will go on for every epsilon positive, right? So there should be a point to which it converges. So if you know that xn only converges, then I can say the definition is, there exists a real number r such that for every epsilon positive there exists a natural number capital N, right? There exists a natural number capital N such that for all k bigger than or equal to capital N, difference between xk and x must be less than epsilon. And this natural number here, it depends on this epsilon point that you are starting with. Okay, so I've already put it here, I can put it here also. And even in this definition, you can show the dependence of the natural number n on the point epsilon. Okay, so I want you all to think, when will I say that the sequence does not converge? Okay, so write using quantifiers when does a sequence does not converge to A. Does not converge to a point x in R. So you just have to negate the statement of convergence. Okay, so you all can formulate the negation of this statement. Just give a try, and I will discuss that in the live class if required. Okay, so this you all think. Another remark that I want to make here is, if a sequence does not converge, that means there is no point real number. You cannot find a real number to which the sequence xn converges, then xn is said to be divergent. Is said to be a divergent sequence. Okay, so does not divergent means it does not converge. It is not a convergent sequence. All right. So I want you all to formulate using quantifiers when you say that a sequence diverges. When a sequence is a divergent sequence. Okay, and any sequence which converges is called a convergent sequence. So any sequence which converges is called a convergent sequence. Okay, so these are some terms which we will be using often. Yes. All right. Now let us look at some examples of sequences which are convergent, and we will show that they are convergent by definition. Okay, so first example is the simplest one that you have. The simplest sequence is the constant sequence. So let xn be equal to k for every natural number n, where k is a real number, right? So for every natural number it is k. So this sequence is of the form this: k comma k comma k, and this k only keeps on coming for all natural numbers. So geometrically, if you see, when I say a sequence is convergent to a point x, as you increase the value of x, what should happen is the terms of the sequence should come closer and closer and closer to the point x. That's when we say that the sequence is convergent, either from one side or from both the sides. Okay, so as you increase the value of n, as you keep on taking higher and higher terms of the sequence, the terms of the sequence should come closer and closer to this point x, okay, to which it converges. Now if you see the terms of the sequence, they are always k, right? So they are very close, they are very close to k, you can say. Actually all of them are k, right? So what we will prove is this sequence, constant sequence, which is k, converges to the point k. We write it this way. This is the notation to say that xn converges to a point k. I think I didn't mention this, so I can write somewhere the notation, and I will put it just below the definition. Notation. So it is denoted by xn converges to x, and it is read as xn converges to x with the arrow here. Okay, so this is the sequence, and this is the point to which it converges, and this point is called the limit of the sequence. Okay, this is called the limit of the sequence to the point where it converges, and it is also denoted as, like, another way of writing this is limit n tending to infinity of the sequence xn is equal to x. This is another way of denoting the same thing. Clear? So what we have to show is xn converges to the point k. So what I have to do now, by definition, I have to take any epsilon positive now. For any epsilon positive, I should be able to find a natural number such that xn minus the point limit should be less than epsilon, right? So I will start with some epsilon positive, which is arbitrary real number. Let epsilon positive be arbitrary. Okay, so what I have to do? I have to find one natural number such that the difference, that is xn minus k in this case, will be less than epsilon. But so I have to estimate this difference actually, xn minus k. So if you look at xn minus k, how much it comes to? What is the value of xn for each n? That's k. So this is nothing but k minus k, right, for all natural numbers n, and that's modulus of 0, which is 0, and 0 is already less than epsilon because epsilon is positive, right? So this is the simplest thing that can ever happen in a sequence. So for here in this particular case, for each natural number n, this difference is less than epsilon. So for n is equal to 1, the difference xn minus k is already less than epsilon. So I will choose capital N to be equal to 1. You can pick up any natural number here. If this n works, then any natural number bigger than this n will also work. Okay. So if I choose n equal to capital N equal to 1, then for all natural numbers n which are bigger than or equal to 1, okay, this capital N is 1. This difference xn minus k is nothing but k minus k, which is 0 and which is less than epsilon. So we have found a stage capital N such that whenever you take terms after this capital N, all those terms, the difference between xn and k is less than epsilon, right? So because it was a constant sequence, this process is very simple. Almost there is nothing to prove here, because all the terms of the sequence xn are equal to k, and this difference will always be 0, which is less than epsilon, right? And therefore, given any epsilon positive, I found a natural number 1 such that the difference between xn and k is less than epsilon, and therefore by definition the sequence xn converges to the point k. Okay, so this was the first example. Now let's look at one more example. Consider the sequence xn is equal to 1 upon n for all natural numbers n. So let xn be equal to the sequence 1 upon n for all natural numbers n. Now by definition, when you want to show that a sequence converges to some point, this point you should have an idea what this point is, and then we use the definition to show that it actually converges to this point. So the definition won't tell you what is this point, the limit definition won't give you. Okay, so you should have some idea about this point, and then I can verify whether it actually converges or not. Okay, so this definition does not give me this point x. I should have an idea about the point x. So if you plot this sequence now on the number line, how does it look? Let's see, where should it converge? When n is equal to 1, it is 1. When n is equal to 2, it is half. When n is equal to 3, it is 1 by 3, 1 by 4, 1 by 5. So the terms are coming this way, this way, this way, this way, right? And they cannot cross 0 and go. So they are actually heading towards the point 0 if you see. Okay. So this gives me some idea that the sequence xn, which is 1 by n, converges to 0. And that is what we will prove. Okay. So my claim is the sequence xn converges to the point 0. So I have to take some epsilon positive now, some arbitrary number. So let epsilon positive be some arbitrary number. Okay. So what we have to do? We have to find one natural number capital N such that for all terms of the sequence after this capital N, the difference between xn and 0, 0 is a x now, that difference is less than epsilon. So I have to estimate this difference xn minus 0. But what is xn? That's 1 by n, minus 0 is 1 by n, so that is 1 by n. Now I have to show that this is less than epsilon, right? I have to show that this is less than epsilon. So this is, you can say, my rough work. I have to show that this is less than epsilon. So if I want 1 by n to be less than epsilon, then 1 upon epsilon should be less than n, right? And from where can I get such a n? By Archimedean property. Epsilon is any positive real number, and the Archimedean property says if you give me any real number epsilon, then I can find a natural number such that 1 upon n is less than epsilon, right? So Archimedean property is going to give me such a natural number. So for epsilon positive, so for this epsilon positive, there exists some natural number, let's say n naught, such that 1 upon n naught is less than epsilon. This is coming by Archimedean property. Okay, this is already done in the first chapter. So 1 upon n naught is less than epsilon, right? So 1 n naught I have already obtained a natural number here. Now what I have to say, for all numbers which are bigger than or equal to this n naught, the difference between xn and 0 must be less than epsilon, right? So for all natural numbers, for all n bigger than or equal to n naught, I have to look at xn minus 0, right? But what is xn minus 0? That is mod 1 by n, and that is 1 upon n. Now if n is bigger than or equal to n naught, then if I just take the reciprocals, 1 by n here will be less than or equal to 1 by n naught. So I can use this expression here. This was discussed in the first chapter, the real number system. So 1 by capital N will be less than or equal to 1 by n naught. And I already have an estimate for 1 by n naught. 1 by n naught is less than epsilon, right? So what we have done, given epsilon positive, the Archimedean property gave me one natural number n naught, this one, such that whenever I take n which is bigger than or equal to n naught, the difference between xn and 0 is less than epsilon, right? So instead of capital N, I have used n naught. You should keep on changing your notations so that given any different notation in your exam, you are able to handle it. Okay. So instead of capital N, I have used small n naught now. That is just a notation. Nothing to worry. Okay. So we have showed that the sequence xn converges to the point 0. So given any epsilon positive, I can find a natural number n naught such that xn minus 0 is less than epsilon for all n bigger than or equal to n naught. Now explicitly, if you want to write that natural number, if you want to know what exactly this n naught is, there is a way to do that also. Okay, so I need 1 upon n naught to be less than epsilon. I need 1 upon n naught to be less than epsilon. That is same as saying 1 upon epsilon is less than n naught. That means I need one natural number n naught which is greater than 1 upon epsilon, right? So on my number line, somewhere 1 upon epsilon will be there, because epsilon is a positive number, 1 upon epsilon is a real number, and I need a natural number which is bigger than 1 upon epsilon, which is n naught here. So which is the first natural number that I can get after this? What I will do, I will take the integral part of 1 upon epsilon, so that will give me the previous natural number here, and to this integral part I can add 1, that will give me the next natural number here, right? So in particular, if you want to explicitly write what is that n naught, then you can choose n naught to be integral part of 1 upon epsilon, and you can add 1 to that. So to be precise, if you give me now epsilon is equal to 10, okay, if you give me epsilon is equal to 10 here, what will be the natural number that you will get? That will be integral part of 1 by 10, that is 0.1 you can say, and integral part of that will be 0, and that to that you add 1, so that is 1. So if you take n is equal to, if you take epsilon is equal to 10, then natural number 1 will be enough for me. Okay, I hope it is clear. If you give me epsilon is equal to half, this is also positive, then what is the corresponding natural number that I will be getting such that the definition works? I will have to look at 1 upon epsilon in its integral part, and I have to add 1 to it. So what is this? 1 upon half its integral part plus 1. So if you simplify this, that's integral part of 2 plus 1, and that's 2 plus 1, which is 3. Right? So if you give me epsilon is equal to half, let me put it on the number line. 1 half, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, and so on. So if you give me epsilon is equal to half, okay, then I look at 0 minus 1 by 0 minus epsilon comma 0 plus epsilon. That will be minus epsilon to epsilon. And when it is half, it will be somewhere here. This is the interval, epsilon neighborhood which I am talking about. Now when you see the terms 1 by 3, if you see, that is inside this interval. So I have found a stage n naught is equal to 3 such that now you take any number n which is bigger than or equal to 3, the corresponding xn will lie inside this interval. It will belong to minus epsilon comma epsilon, and epsilon is half, so it will belong to minus half comma half. Right? So if I want the natural number explicit, I can find it in this manner. Okay, so in the live interaction we will see more examples of sequences which are convergent. All right, so now I'll pick up a sequence. This sequence we saw when we were listing down the examples. Minus 1 raised to n for all natural numbers a. So what is this sequence? When n is equal to 1, it is minus 1, then 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1, and this keeps on moving. Right? So if you put it on the number line, the terms are oscillating between the points minus 1 and 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1. So the terms are oscillating between the points minus 1 and 1. So geometrically it's clear that this sequence, it does not approach to a particular point. I cannot see it going to one particular point for very large a. Okay, because it keeps on fluctuating between minus 1 and 1. So that gives me an idea that this sequence should not converge. Okay, so we have to prove that the sequence xn does not converge. We will do it by contradiction. Suppose it converges. Okay, suppose xn converges to a point x. What do you mean by xn converges to x? Given any epsilon positive, there exists a natural number capital N such that xn minus x is less than epsilon for all natural numbers bigger than or equal to that capital N. Right? So this works for any epsilon positive. So I will take epsilon to be equal to 1 by 4. So even for this 1 by 4, this definition works. Right? So even for epsilon equal to 1 by 4, I can find a natural number, let's say n, I'll use some notation, n naught, such that xn minus x is less than epsilon. Let me pick up m instead of n naught. There exists a natural number m such that xn minus x is less than epsilon for all n bigger than or equal to n. But what is the epsilon right now? It's 1 by 4. That means this is less than 1 by 4 whenever I take natural numbers bigger than or equal to n. Right? So I can take m, I can take m plus 1, m plus 2, and so on. That is, now if I take m instead of small n here, it is going to work because it works for natural numbers bigger than or equal to capital M. So xm minus x will be less than 1 by 4, and if I take m plus 1, even that is a natural number which is bigger than m. So even for x m plus 1, this difference will be less than 1 by 4, right? That means, but what is x m? That will be minus 1 raised to m. So minus 1 raised to m minus x is less than 1 by 4, and minus 1 raised to x m plus 1 is minus 1 raised to m plus 1. This difference is also less than 1 by 4. Clear? Now I will consider the difference minus 1 raised to m plus 1 and minus 1 raised to m, and I will take its absolute value. If I take minus 1 raised to m common, what will remain inside? 1. Here minus 1 will remain. Minus 1, right? So if I take this as a and this is b, this I can write it as mod ab is mod a into mod b. So that is minus 1 raised to m modulus, and this is minus 2, modulus of minus 2, and this can be either 1 or minus 1. So when I take its modulus, it will be plus 1, and this is 2. So this is finally equal to 2, this difference, right? Now I will estimate the same quantity using these two expressions above. Okay, I will just calculate that in a different way. So if you look at minus 1 raised to m plus 1 minus minus 1 raised to m, I have a estimate with them along with the point x here. So I will add and subtract x to this. Okay, so to this expression I will subtract x, and I have added x also. So I add and subtract x here, right? And now I can write that as minus 1 raised to m plus 1 minus x, okay, and I can take negative common here, and that will give me minus 1 raised to m minus x. It's this. Now apply triangle inequality to this. Mod x minus y is less than or equal to mod x plus mod y. But this is less than 1 by 4, and this is also less than 1 by 4 from the previous slide. So this is equal to half. So this quantity is less than half, but it is equal to 2, right? That means 2 is less than half. That's a contradiction. Why we are getting this contradiction? Because we assume that the sequence 1 by n converges to the point x, and therefore this sequence xn does not converge to any point. This is the notation to say that it does not converge, and therefore this sequence xn, which is minus 1 raised to n, it diverges, it does not converge. Okay, and these are my references. Thank you.